So before we get into the details of Act 2 of Twelfth Night, I just want to reflect on the opening act of the play, the opening scene even. After Orsino becomes overstuffed with the food of love, he says that the minute that he saw Olivia, he was turned into a hart, and my desires like fell and cruel hounds e'er pursued me. He was turned into a deer, in other words, and his desires became the dogs that chased him. His desire, in other words, is not imagined as a set of dogs that goes hunting after the thing he desires, Olivia. Instead, the dogs hunt him and make it impossible for him to think about anything else. It's a really fascinating iteration on the predator-prey relationship that sometimes we see in love stories like this. He is the prey of his own desire. It's weird, right? And this is obviously not the only reference to self-love in the play. Olivia famously scolds Malvolio in Act 1, Scene 5 by telling him that he is sick of self-love. And Olivia herself unwittingly falls in love with her own mirror image through Viola, whose life experiences mimic her own. This play is filled with characters who are constantly asserting their own individuality or quirkiness, and then trying to suppress the quirkiness of others. It's filled with people who love themselves so much that they want to see themselves reflected in the world, and that sometimes leads to them suppressing others. So let's look at that when we go through Act 2. We're going to look at it through this lens. And if that sounds like fun to you, please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos. Act 2 opens with a surprise. We find out that Viola's brother, Sebastian, is actually alive. Since washing up on the shores, he's been living with a man named Antonio, who is unambiguously in love with him. We see Sebastian tell his story to Antonio. He tells him how he had a twin sister who everybody said looked exactly like him, and who he loved very much, but he believes that she drowned during the shipwreck. Sebastian loved his mirror image, but she's gone now. Sebastian can't just hide away in Antonio's house for the rest of his life, so he tells Antonio that he must leave and join the world of Illyria. Antonio tells the audience that he has many enemies in Illyria, so he should not follow Sebastian, but that his love for Sebastian is strong enough to overcome that fear, and so he follows Sebastian into the danger anyway. So even though this play does have a lot of instances of self-love, the second act actually begins with Antonio expressing a form of selfless love. In Scene 2, Viola finds herself in an impossible love triangle. A love knot. I mean, she calls it a love knot, so let's call it a love knot. Olivia has sent Malvolio to return a ring to Cesario, but Cesario did not give or leave a ring behind. Olivia sends Malvolio with this ring because she hopes to ensure that Cesario will return. Since the ring isn't his, he'll have to return it. This ring, along with the message that Olivia would like to see her again, inspires Viola to recognize that she is indeed, quote, the man. She goes on to say that she sees the wickedness of her disguise, of performing a role that isn't hers. Her ability to be whatever the situation requires of her has now put her in this tricky spot. She loves Orsino, Orsino loves Olivia, and Olivia loves Cesario. A love knot. And in this love knot, Viola, as Cesario, has to listen to Orsino talk about his love of Olivia all the time, as his friend and as his servant. She has to offer him advice on how to pursue that love, so she's in a tough spot. It's not just Olivia who's in a tough spot, and it's made worse when Orsino offers to give Cesario advice in love. Viola, performing as Cesario, tells Orsino that she has been in love herself with somebody as old as Orsino. The guy kind of acts like him too, so she's not subtle about what she's saying. And Orsino's response to this isn't a happy one. He's not happy that Cesario is in love with somebody older than him. He says that men have giddy and unfirm longings, that men waver in love more than women, and that's why Cesario should not desire older women. It's better to love younger. Older women get ugly and, bros fall out of love fast when that happens. Bros like us, he says, our fancies are more giddy and unfirm. They're sooner lost and worn. But then later in that same conversation, Viola will pose a hypothetical question. Say that some lady, as perhaps there is, hath for your love as great a pang of heart as you have for Olivia. You cannot love her, you tell her so. Must she not then be answered? This question should convince Orsino to accept Olivia's refusal, but instead Orsino responds, "No woman's heart so big to hold so much. They lack retention." He says we can't compare Orsino's love with a woman's love because women lack retention. And that's just perfect in this scene. Orsino spouts all this gender essentialist nonsense as though it's wisdom, but then what he actually ends up saying is that desire in both men and women is fluid. It's constantly changing. Men are giddy and unfirm. Women lack retention. He says that we can't compare the desires of men and women, but he's basically defined them in the exact same way. They're constantly changing, contingent, unreliable, except his desire, of course. That's firm and pure. And it's not. He won't be in love with Olivia by the end of this play. Moreover, this disruption of gender essentialism is obviously highlighted by the fact that he's talking to a girl pretending to be a boy. And given the original staging, it would have been a young boy playing a girl pretending to be a boy. So it's all performance and it's all giddy and unfirm. Gender itself lacks retention in this play. Viola, as Cesario, impressively pushes back against Orsino in this scene as well. Even though she is playing the servant, she has no problem saying that she knows too well what love women to men owe. In faith, they are as true of heart as we, asserting the equal abilities of anyone to love or desire anybody else. So Viola, as Cesario, goes on to tell the story of how they once had a sister who was really good at loving people to prove this. In other words, Viola offers herself as proof that a woman can love as well as a man. When Orsino asks if this sister died, Viola says, "I am all the daughters of my father's house, and all the brothers too." And the story calls attention to the fact that Viola has, in some ways, become Sebastian. She has transformed herself into the object of her love. The lines between herself and her twin brother have been dissolved in her disguise as Cesario. She's all the daughters and brothers. So in this scene, she is telling the story of herself from Sebastian's position and explaining the way that she herself loves. In short, in this scene, Orsino makes the argument that he is the ideal lover, and Viola counters with the story that proves that she is the ideal lover. They are both very confident in their own ability to love. They both think that they love correctly. According to these two, everybody else should love the way that they love. They admire themselves and love their own love. But let's turn away from them now, and let's move on to those who are confident in and love their ability to party. As Sir Toby and Sir Andrew continue to drink, they ask Feste for a love song, and Feste delivers a song about a lover who can sing both low and high, which feels thematically appropriate given Viola's performance as Cesario. He also sings about how love is not something that we can conceptualize in the future. Present mirth hath present laughter. What's to come is still unsure, which seems to highlight that giddy and unfirm view of love that lacks retention. We don't know if we will be able to love tomorrow, but that's no matter. We will love and we will laugh today. And with that mindset, Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, and Feste are all going to sing together until they get in trouble. First with Maria, who tells them to quiet down, and then by Malvolio, who comes with threats. Notably, Malvolio will tell Sir Toby that if you can separate yourself and your misdemeanors, you are welcome to the house. If not, and it would please you to take your leave of her, she is very willing to bid you farewell. So Sir Toby has to separate his actions from himself if he wants to stay. So will he choose the love of himself and his own actions, or will he choose the love and hospitality of his niece Olivia? Well, he seems to debate this through song for a second, but it's actually all a game. He eventually dismisses Malvolio by saying, "Art any more than a steward? Dost thou think because thou art virtuous, there shall be no more cakes and ale?" So, like the Beastie Boys of old, Sir Toby is fighting for his right to party, and this whole exchange has implications for our exploration of self-love. Sir Toby is his misdemeanors. He can't separate himself from himself, and he also insists that the rest of the world should be more like him and less like the serious world of Malvolio. The world will always have cakes and ales. It will always be filled with Sir Tobys, regardless of the Malvolios. But another interesting part of this scene is Malvolio, who similarly wants to see more of himself in the world. He wants the world to be more restrained and serious, and he always seems to relish his opportunity to scold people acting unrestrained or unserious. He likes to perform control even though he's just a conduit for Olivia's control. When he communicates and enforces the rules of the house, those rules give him power. But at the same time, those rules that he's enforcing are part of a system that makes him socially inferior to guys like Sir Toby. He is the steward of nobility, but Sir Toby is nobility. The system that Malvolio enforces ironically subordinates him to Sir Toby. Malvolio may be filled with self-love, he may think himself more moral or righteous than anyone else, but there's also a bit of self-hatred in there. He looks down upon his own social class. He loves himself, but he hates those in his social position. He believes he'd make better nobility than the nobility do, and Sir Toby knows exactly how to get to him. Art any more than a steward, he says, reminding Malvolio, who actually has power in the scene. Malvolio ends up leaving the scene not by continuing his threats against Sir Toby, but by threatening Maria, his social equal in the house. Mistress Mary, if you prized my lady's favor at anything more than contempt, you would not give means for this civil unrule. She shall know of it. And with that, Malvolio pokes a bear. Going after Maria is like the early modern equivalent of publishing a diss track against Kendrick Lamar. You just don't do it. It's not going to go well for you. Maria starts planning her revenge against Malvolio immediately, and her method will be to use Malvolio's ego against him. She says that Malvolio is the best persuaded of himself, so crammed as he thinks with excellencies that it is his grounds of faith that all that look on him love him. And on that vice in him will my revenge find notable cause to work. It's his vice of self-love or self-confidence that she's going to manipulate. Later in the act, we actually see her plan in action. She tells us that she's watched Malvolio practicing behavior to his own shadow for 30 minutes, which appropriately demonstrates his self-obsession. She then places a letter on the ground for Malvolio to find while Toby, Andrew, and a new character, Fabian, watch from behind a box tree. They first witness Malvolio talking to himself, fantasizing about what it would be like to marry Olivia. He would move up in social class, be Count Malvolio, and so on. He already knows how to act like nobility better than the nobility like Sir Toby, he thinks. And this obviously is appalling to Sir Toby and the gang, who think that he's an arrogant upstart. They keep whispering punishments to each other, which all imply putting him back in his place. Eventually, Malvolio picks up the letter Maria left for him and reads it. Maria has forged Olivia's handwriting, and this letter contains riddles that Malvolio will interpret as Olivia's love for him. It says, for example, that I may command where I adore. And it has this cryptic acronym in there. MOAI doth sway my life. Malvolio, of course, thinks that these lines refer to him. Olivia commands him, so she adores him. His name, Malvolio, begins with an M, and MOAI begins with an M. So he is the one who must sway her life. This is the way he's interpreting everything. And I don't know what MOAI actually stands for. I am not going to try to solve this, quote, fustian riddle myself. I'm not so filled with self-love that I think that I have the right answer. But Malvolio is, and this letter fulfills his fantasies. The letter further instructs him to wear yellow stockings, cross-gartered, and to smile often when he sees Olivia next. Little does he know that Olivia hates yellow, cross-gartering, and thinks that he's insane if he smiles. That's the plan. They want Malvolio to be thought insane. This is because, for Sir Toby and the gang, the desire for social mobility is insane. And so this plan will have him act as though he's Olivia's social equal, and in doing so, he will be declared insane, preventing his social mobility. This is a way for them to entrench their social roles in the community as nobility by playing with the performance of those social roles and by chastising those who aspire to transcend those roles. And one interesting side note related to this, Maria's plan is so clever that both Sir Toby and Sir Andrew seem to fall in love with her here. They both claim that they would marry her and ask nothing of a dowry except another prank like this. In fact, they both claim that she is their social superior. And Toby gets straight up a little kinky by asking her to step on his neck and then offers to become her bondslave. Keep in mind, she is of the same social rank as Malvolio. He tries to perform nobility by frowning and avoiding cakes and ales and acting superior, and he is going to fail at social promotion. But Maria performs nobility by humiliating Malvolio, and she succeeds. She will inspire love in her social betters by taking a dump on the lower classes rather than trying to learn the manners and customs of the upper classes like Malvolio did. But back to Malvolio's desire for Olivia. He wants Olivia because he wants to improve his social rank. If he actually loved her for her, he'd probably know that she hates yellow. His desire for Olivia is a desire for self-promotion. It's a love of himself that has taken an external expression. And this desire that Malvolio has for Olivia will help us better understand some of the other desires in this play. He desires Olivia because of what Olivia represents: his own social mobility, prestige, the power to shape the world in his own image, to curb Sir Toby's behavior to be more in line with his own. Olivia becomes the object of his desire, but it could be anybody. The desire itself is rooted in self-love, self-righteousness, and self-promotion. And to some degree, we can make that same claim about the other characters in this play. Orsino, for example, desires Olivia, but talks more about himself as the ideal lover than he does about Olivia. The guy has turned love into nothing but the performance of love. He's always asking for music to accompany his performance. He enjoys playing the melancholic lover. He loves, but who he loves doesn't actually matter. And does Olivia love Cesario, or is Cesario just a distraction from her mourning? For the most part, the two only really ever talk about Olivia. Is that real love or self-love? She's cloistered herself away from the world and only looks inward. I don't believe in spoilers, but I also don't want to spoil anything just yet. But I get the sense that Cesario could be anybody, so long as that anybody is willing to self-sacrifice for Olivia. Additionally, Cesario, unknown to Olivia, is a sister who has lost a brother just like her. They're both in mourning. They're the same. They love themselves. So all the characters in this play say they desire somebody, but those someones are just avatars for their own selves. They're all just in love with themselves, and that love results in a whole bunch of misinterpretations. Orsino and Olivia fail to see through Viola's performance of Cesario. Malvolio misinterprets the letter. They all misunderstand the world because they view the world filtered through their own egos. They will be punished in one way or another for this sin of self-love, and that's what we're going to discuss in the next video when we go through Act 3 of Twelfth Night play by play. Thank you for watching.